Growing up in Thailand, pad thai was not really something that we eat all the time or is widely available. It's more of like a small vendor selling just a pad thai on the side of the street. And this dish at the end represents what Thai food has to offer, bringing together all the flavors from spicy, salty, sweet, and sour, and then a little bit of bitterness, make it a perfect dish to try. And I will show you the right way to make it. Hi, I am Sanitchat, chef and owner at Thai Fresh here in Austin. Today we are here in Made in Kitchen and we will be making pad thai with shrimp. But first of all, this is very important that you soak the noodles before you start prepping everything because the noodles will take about 30 minutes to soak. Normally on noodles bag, you're gonna see a letter from small, medium, or large. This one is a large size, which I actually like best because the size of noodles are a little bit larger and they become chewier when you cook it. And then you're gonna soak noodles in cold tap water. Good thing about these guys is that they don't really get over soaked at all. So if you soak it even in the morning before you leave for work and come back in the evening, this will still be good on the counter. So we're gonna let it soak for about 30 minutes. Next, we're gonna be prepping this shallot. So we're gonna cut the end off. Just gonna mince them so that it's almost like mincing garlic in a way. Just run your knife all over it like that. Then we're gonna go ahead and grab that. And next we're gonna be prepping this Chinese chives. So Chinese chives is essentially, sometimes it is called garlic chives. They are flat leaves. They grow really, really easily in all weather, believe it or not. Like cold, hot, doesn't matter. They're very, very hardy. So you're gonna trim the end off a little bit, and then we're gonna cut that into about 1.5 inch length. If I have to describe the taste, it's almost like a little bit garlicky, a little bit mix of the shallot as well. All right, so we're gonna grab that and put that in a bowl. Next, we're gonna be prepping tofu. This is a block of extra firm tofu. To fry tofu, before you fry it, you wanna make sure that you press it so that way water is squeezed out from the tofu and it won't splatter when you fry it. So to do that, you just get a tray or a plate, you lay that with a towel, and then you put another piece of towel on top, and then you can get something heavy like a pot or a big bowl or a pan, and then just sit it on top like that, and you will let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes for that water to release from the tofu. So now we're gonna cut these tofus into little blocks. When making pad thai, tofus are normally cut small-ish, on the small size, like about 1/2 inch block, because we're using tofu in combination with shrimp. So you just slice the tofu block out. A very important step is that you have the good sauce to make the pad thai. So the sauce has 4 ingredients. The first one is tamarind water, which we're gonna make into the second. And then it has palm sugar, white sugar, and then fish sauce, right? So there's a couple ways that you can actually get tamarind water. First, you can actually buy tamarind water, which is a tamarind concentrate from a bottle. And this will, after you open, it will be good in the fridge for up to 3 months, or you can also freeze it. But I do prefer making my own tamarind water. There's no taste difference between these two. I just like making it from tamarind pulp because I can just make it as much or as little as I want to, and then this tamarind pulp will be good in the pantry for a long time. You're gonna take about a 1/4 cup size or a golf ball size of tamarind meat or tamarind pulp, and you're gonna place that in the bowl. We're gonna start by adding about 1/2 cup of water into that. And then you're just gonna go in with your hand. Squeeze it, smoosh it, however you wanna say it. And then you just kinda keep going until you don't really feel like you can squish it anymore. When you're done squeezing the meat, the consistency of the water is almost like a thicker, muddy water like that. Right, so we're gonna strain that through a strainer into a bowl, and then you just press it. Or you can use a spoon as well if you want to. Sometimes it's got a little bit of meat left in it. So what I do, I would just put it back in a bowl, right? Just gonna add a little bit more water, maybe a couple tablespoons, like that, just to get the last of it out. Because the first round is always a little bit thick anyway. You have a little bit of room to mix in a little bit more of that water in there. And we're gonna make our pad thai sauce. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of palm sugar. We're gonna add that into the pot. And then we have 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, and we're gonna need 2 tablespoons of tamarind water that we just made. And all we have to do is to just heat this sauce up enough that it just come to a boil and our sugar is all dissolved. And once it get a little bit hotter, this palm sugar is just gonna melt and dissolve into this sauce. So we're gonna give it a little stir now that all the palm sugar is all melted, just to make sure that it's nice and mixed. And as soon as the sugar is all dissolved, this sauce is pretty much done. You don't need to simmer it or anything. So the sauce is done. And then next we're gonna move over to frying our tofu to get it ready. To fry tofu, we're gonna use vegetable oil. So any kind of vegetable oil that you have, anything that designed for high heat. Today we're using grapeseed oil, and we're gonna pour the oil into a 2-quart sauce pot, and we're gonna turn the heat on. I usually just leave it on high, and I don't really walk away. Usually it would take a few minutes for the oil to actually heat up. You know when the oil is ready, you can start seeing like the shimmering on the surface. And another way that you can test that your oil is ready is to use a wooden spoon, right? You stick the wooden spoon inside the oil. If it starts sizzling around the wooden spoon, it means the oil is ready. If it's like steaming or smoking, the oil is too hot. If it's not sizzling at all, the oil is not ready. We're gonna start frying this guy, the tofu, right? So we're gonna go ahead and put that into this little spider, so that way you don't burn your hand. All right, we're gonna drop that in there. You're gonna start hearing that. And that is a good sign. So we're gonna let that fry until the tofu start to float to the top of the surface. And you can see that the tofu will get brown on the outside, and then we're gonna just take them out. Now that we're done with the tofu, we're gonna set them on the side and let them dry. And we're gonna move on to the peppers. And then we're gonna turn the heat on. You don't want it to be too high. Make sure you turn the vent on. So now that the pan gets hot really quickly. I had it on high, so now I'm gonna turn it on low. And then we're gonna go ahead and add this pepper into the pan. So this is dry toasted or dry roasted. And then you're gonna be looking for the pepper to kind of get just a little bit darker red in color and then get a little shiny. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna actually turn the heat off before it's completely done, and just whatever heat left in that pan would be enough to actually finish up these peppers. So this is it. That was about 3 minutes at most, not even that. So that's done. And then you can grind it up in a small food processor, or if you have a set of mortar and pesto, you can also grind that in there as well. Now we are ready to make pad thai. We have everything right in front of us. Today we'll be making pad thai made in Rondeau. I love using this pan because of the bottom that is wider, so it gets more heat, and then the side that is a little bit higher, and then we can keep all the food while we're cooking inside the pan instead of spilling it. And stainless steel is perfect for even heating, and it's perfect for this Chinese spatula that I'm gonna be using. We're gonna turn our heat on. Put your hand over the pan just a little bit to feel that you can feel the heat, if it's hot. So if you can kind of feel it, it means it's hot. And when it is hot, then you wanna turn it down just a little bit, so that way your pan is not super hot when you add the oil, and you won't burn that shallow. So I'm gonna turn it down just slightly, right? And then we're gonna grab the oil. So this is grapeseed oil. You can use canola, any vegetable oil at all. You can use avocado. All right, we're gonna start off with shallot. And you can turn the heat up later, but for now we're just gonna keep it medium-low just to make sure our shallot doesn't get burnt. Good, so we're gonna go ahead and saute that. As soon as it starts smelling and it's brown the edges, you're ready. So we're gonna go ahead and put our shrimp in there. All right, and then just stir it around. And as long as you move it around, it won't stick to the pan, and it will cook very quickly. And shrimp doesn't take very long to cook, and that was probably just 1 minute in there. We're gonna go ahead and add this tofu. And since tofu is already cooked, it doesn't need much time in there. So we're gonna, so we're gonna make a well in the middle, and then we're gonna put eggs right in the middle. Slightly scramble our eggs, and then let it fry for maybe another 30 seconds. Then you can start scrambling it. So you're gonna scrape off the pan. You can see that it's coming off pretty easily. And then we're gonna come in with the salted radish and then the pepper flakes, right? Now, next up would be the noodles. So you're gonna add all these noodles in there, right? And after the noodles goes in, I'm gonna grab more oil. I'm gonna go around and then fold the noodles over. And I'm gonna keep folding, right? And sauteing. So if it looks like, oh, well, the noodles are not cooking fast enough, you can always add a little bit more oil. So you can drizzle a little bit more oil into here. You don't want to put the sauce in to the noodles too soon because then your sauce is going to actually be boiling the noodles. You don't want that to happen. What you want is that oil cook your noodles first, and then the sauce will just be your seasoning, right? So that looks pretty good. And you can start seeing that the noodles start to brown and it can become just slightly translucent. That's the texture you're looking for. All right, next up is we're gonna add our prepared sauce into it. And you can see that the sauce actually already start to absorb in that noodles. So that's about done. So finishing up, we got this bean sprouts. All right, put that in. Garlic chives or Chinese chives, right? You fold that noodles over the bean sprouts and the chives. So you don't wanna, like cut the noodles or like be rough with it at this point because it's already pretty cooked and soft. So you just kind of wanna fold it in. You don't want to cook the bean sprouts too far either because you want to have that little bit of crunch into that bean sprouts. Once the sauce is all absorbed into the noodles and the vegetables are all wilted, then it is done. You can turn the heat off and then we're gonna plate it. So just grab that. This is a good dish. It's got all the flavors in it. It smells good. All right, so once this is plated, garnish with chives, a little string of lime, and then a side of crushed peanuts. And then if you like it spicier, you can always add a little bit more of that pepper flakes that we made earlier. Slice of lime, and you can just kind of squeeze it on top like that, and then mix it in just right before you eat it. And here we have it, shrimp pad thai with tofu. All right, so let's see how we did. The flavors right there. Sweet, sour, salty, really good. You got a little bit of everything in there, a little crunch from the peanuts, spicy from the peppers. Makes a perfect dish, complete on its own. I can see why pad thai is the most popular dish at the restaurant. I am Jam from here, Austin, Texas at Thai Fresh, and I use made in cookware. I'll see you next time.